to play your best golf. Featuring special guest instructor Bob Tosky, Dean of Golf Instruction, Golf Digest Instruction Schools. Peggy Kirk-Bell, a founding member of the LPGA and one of the best women golf teachers in the world. Rod Myers, director of the golf program at Duke University. Guest instructor Jim Flick, author and director of instruction, Golf Digest Instruction Schools. Carol Johnson, LPGA Teacher of the Year and a member of the National Golf Foundation teaching staff. Coach Conrad Rayleigh of the University of Alabama. And series host Gary Wyron, author, teacher, and director of learning and research for the PGA of America.
Mastering the principles of a good golf swing is the foundation for playing your best golf. Take a look at the swings of these famous golf professionals. Each is distinctive, yet each one is successful because they all apply the same basic principles of a good swing. Understanding the principles is the first step to playing your best golf. Your golf swing will improve in direct proportion to the amount of time that you spend on mastering the basics. Golf is a target game. And if we're going to get the ball from the spot you're starting to that target, it's important, of course, that you can control distance and direction. As we start this series, we feel that you should know there are 5 laws of ball flight. Those factors which influence, which cause the distance and direction to happen. The first one is clubhead speed. Obviously, clubhead speed has a great deal to do with the distance you're going to hit the ball. Centeredness is also an important part in how far you can hit a golf ball. If I hit a shot, for example, 250 yards for a drive, but in this case, instead of hitting in the center, I hit it a half-inch off center, I would lose some 35 to 40 yards in distance. So centeredness plus speed are the factors which produce distance for you. There are only 2 factors which influence the direction or shape that a ball takes. Those are the path in which the club head is swinging when it makes contact with the ball and the face position when it makes contact with the ball. The path can either be going directly to the target, it can be going from the outside to the in across the line, or from the inside to the out across the line. The face positions are 3 also, either open, square, or closed. When you put those in conjunction with each other, if the path is straight but the face is open, it puts a glancing blow which causes side spin and fades or slices the ball. If the face is closed to the line on which you're swinging or the path, then it will cause a spin that goes from right to left or a hooking type shot. It's really a matter of geometry. The lines of path and face related to one another are the things that cause the ball to go where it goes for direction. The last of the laws is angle of attack. How many times have you hit a tee shot where you've made a swing and you popped the ball almost straight up in the air where you could feel like you could reach out and catch it on the way down? Well, that's a swing that has a very sharp descending blow. You came sharply down on the ball, hitting too quickly from the top, got the ball up high on the club face and popped it up in the air. That would be a nice shot for a wedge over a bunker, but it's not so good for a drive. So those are the 5 ball flight laws. Angle of attack, the face position at contact, the path, the centeredness of the hit, and the club head speed. The study of the golf swing is a fascinating science. But you know, there are some very important things that have to happen before that swing ever starts. We call them pre-swing principles. We look at things like grip, aim, and setup before the swing motion ever gets going. If you were to take a lesson from Jim or myself or your professional, the first thing we would look at would be grip. No lesser player than Ben Hogan once said, good golf starts with a good grip. And that's where we're going to start.
Your hands are your only connection with the golf club. Here's a tip that you might use to create consistency in placing your fingers around the golf club. Hold the shaft parallel to the ground about waist height with your right hand, making sure that the bottom line of the golf club is vertical to the ground. You might improve your consistency factor by marking your glove in a manner that will encourage you to get the club underneath the butt pad of the left hand, running diagonally beneath that into the second joint of the index finger of the left hand. That will allow the left thumb to slip slightly to the right center of the shaft of the club and enabling you to see two knuckles on your left hand. Then slide your right hand up the shaft carefully, keeping the club in the fingers of the right hand, using the lifeline of your right hand to cover your left thumb. And checking the placement of your fingers around the golf club, you would want to sole the club behind the golf ball, and then your checkpoint would be to make sure that the V formed by the thumb and index finger of the left hand and the right hand are pointing to a spot between your chin and your right shoulder. I'd like to remind you, the golf club only weighs 16 ounces. So we don't need to strangle the golf club to keep it under control. If you are gripping the club so tightly that you cannot feel the weight in the head of the golf club and you only feel the grip end, I can assure you it's much too tight. We need to have sensitivity as we swing the club around our body, and the placement of our hands and fingers around the golf club will encourage that sensitivity to increase. A check that you might use to measure the pressure with which you are holding the club and the flexion in your hands, wrist, and forearm is what we call our vertical hammer thrust. You ought to be able to get some flexion in your hands, wrist, and forearms as you're moving the club around, and almost be able to get a vertical hammer motion where you can feel the movement in the head of the club and responding to your hands, wrist, and forearms to create the feel and movement of the golf club.
Anyone can shoot a rifle, but it takes a marksman to be able to hit a target. Because a marksman needs to be able to aim. It's the same way in golf because golf is a target game. The tour player probably appreciates this principle more than any other one, being able to aim his body and his club face.
My teaching experience leads me to believe that a vast majority of golfers are careless in the alignment of their club face and or their body alignment to our target line. We've set up a situation here with some tape on the ground running to our ultimate target, the tree down there in the distance, to help you create an imaginary target line as you practice a routine that will give you some consistency. We see one of two mistakes in the average golfer. He either sets up with his shoulders far to the left, promoting an outside-in swing with a very glancing blow, or we see the other mistake being aimed to the right and then encourage an outside-in swing again to pull the ball back to the target. Both create weak type of golf shots. To do a routine consistently, I would suggest that you walk behind the ball, getting the player, the ball, and the ultimate target in line. Then selecting a few feet in front of the ball, a broken tee or a piece of grass, an intermediary target on your target line. Then fixing your eyes on the intermediate target and the ultimate target, carefully place your club face behind the golf ball, tracking your eyes through the intermediate target to the ultimate target. Then building your stance of your body alignment to parallel your target line or to encourage the correct swing path, putting your feet in line with the path that you desire to create and making it very easy to get a swing on the right swing path to your ultimate target.
Coach Conrad Railing will help you learn to get your body and the club face aimed properly.
And in this particular drill, we're talking about the path of the club, and we utilize two befores, which shows us the target line, which is the right track, and the left track is what we call the foot path, and our body is parallel to it. So in this drill, we simply put the club down. We must return the club so the club face is square to the target line, and this 2 before gives me a very good idea of whether or not I'm going down the target line. If the club is turned in, or if the club is turned open, we certainly can't get the ball to the target. Now, all we need to do in this drill is simply take the club back and make a small swing at first. We don't want to take a full swing right away, but we can learn how to get the pass the club to the target.
The third of the pre-swing principles is called setup. It includes your body posture, or how you stand to the ball, the relationship of the ball placement to your feet, forward, middle, or back, the distance you stand from the ball, all of these factors, so that when you do make a good golf swing, the ball will be where that swing is at the bottom when it makes contact.
To build a consistent posture and setup, it's important that we take the grip that we have now created correctly, place the club behind the golf ball, identifying our target line, then you wish to hang your arms to your club to accommodate a position, giving you the arm freedom to let your arms suspend and hang softly from your shoulders. After you have placed your club and arms in position, your body will accommodate your arm hang, and finally adjust your feet for width of stance and ball position. We would encourage you to bend from the hips, keeping your back straight but tilted, and you will feel as though your chin is up to see your golf ball through the bottom of your glasses if you're wearing them, but your head will feel tall. You will feel as though you are supporting yourself in the back of your legs and thighs to accommodate a small amount of knee flex, approximately 3 to 4 inches, to give you a springy feeling in your legs. A drill that you might enjoy working with to identify the correct posture, weight distribution, and athletic position of your feet and knees would be a heel tapping action to give you that springy sensation that all good athletes have.
Grip, aim, setup, the pre-swing principle. You're now in a position to make the golf swing much easier. What is a swing? What does a swing feel like? Well, if I were to take this club and simply let it swing back and forth, there are some characteristics that I note. One, that I feel the weight of the club head. The second one is that there's some centrifugal force produced as I start to increase the speed. I will feel a pulling away out on the end and the weight of the club being swung. This comes primarily through the hands. It's the feeling in the hands and the feeling of the head out there through the hands. The hands are not so much producers of power, they're transmitters of power. And that swinging motion comes through the hands, transmitted by the arm, and then the muscles of the back, and finally the legs. It's a lot like other sports where we throw or strike. If I have a baseball swing and simply took a golf swing and put it up in the air more in baseball fashion and wound up and unwound, I would find that would be very much like a golf swing feeling. The weight going to the right foot on the back and forward to the left foot on the through. A wind up and an unwind feeling. It's almost as if you were going to wind, unwind, and let her go, like this. That's the sensation you have as you make a swinging motion.
If you think about the parts of your body, the limbs are the parts that allow you to create a swing. I'd like to break the swing down into its 3 components. The first being the speed producer. The second component, which is the swinger, or the transportation for your speed producer. And we need to bring in our third element, and that is the pivot. I like to think of the hands, wrists, and forearms as your speed producer. The small muscles and bones of the hand, wrist, and forearm allow us the flexibility to create speed. We need to develop the ability to swing your arms around your body while the wrists are cocking, swing down and strike the ball while the wrists are uncocking and releasing, and to recock over on the other side of your swing. This is the very heart of the golf swing.
drill is very important there. Is a drill that we call the tee to retee. It's not a very long swing. You're not trying to hit your ball very far, but you will swing back to almost waist high and feel the end of the shaft or the tee pointing to the golf ball. Let your arms swing down and rotate to square the club up while your wrists are uncocking and swinging over to the forward side of your body where the tee will be pointing back to the golf ball. This is a mirror image of the backswing and the forward swing. So we now need to think of the second component, which is the swinger, or the transportation for our speed producers. And to accomplish that, we need to now use our upper arms and our shoulders to move our speed producers around to the side of us and to the side of us and get the feeling that we are swinging the club freely with our upper arms from our shoulders. There is a drill that will impart that feeling to you. We have you stand on your right leg and cross your left leg in front of you, and then to get the feeling that you are making the club move with your swingers up behind your body,
Around and strike your golf ball.
But we need to lengthen out our arc now, and we need to bring in our third element, and that is the pivot. The pivot will allow your arms to swing behind you, through the ball, and in front of you. And to create the right pivot, we need the feet and legs to turn the hips. That gives us a sense of balance and a sense of rhythm between our lower body and upper body. A drill that you might find fun to work on for the responsibility of your feet and legs to create a pivot and give us a weight shift is what we call our baseball drill. You take your regular starting position, aiming your club down your target line, then pull left foot to right foot, club in front of your eyes. Swing to the top, step through, and swing through. The step before the swing, so you will feel the roll and support of the feet and knees to allow the arms to again stay free and the active release to come from the inside.
These are the three swing components. Each component has a responsibility in the overall development of the golf swing.
There's another element to playing the game that's important besides mechanics, and that's feel. Bob and Jim are going to work with us, first starting on the green and showing us how to develop feel in the small shots, and then carry that back through to the longer shots in the game.
You know, in playing golf, we have to understand that golf is a target game, and to find that target, we have to have some feeling for the golf swing through our hands and arms. And an ounce of touch is worth a ton of brawn in golf. So that's very important that we understand that when we start rolling the ball into the hole.
So you're going to help them feel the force of the club propelling the ball the given distance to our target area by starting in close to the hole.
Right. I'm going to teach the viewer today to feel the stroke instead of forcing the stroke, which I think is very, very important.
Well, let's see you do it.
All right, Jim. Let's start from about 4 feet. And the first thing I'd like to have all of you understand is when we play golf, we start with our hands, which is the only link that we have between the grip of the golf club and the head of the putter. So in order to feel the stroke that we're about to show you, the hands must be placed together. And if you'll join me in not pressing too tightly, you can feel how the swinging of your arms can be felt very freely and easily. The pressure of your hands, if they get too tight against each other, stifle your arm flow, and you cannot create a rhythmic stroke. You place the club behind the ball, aiming it toward the hole, and allowing my arms to hang freely from my body. And you swing and feel the force of the stroke. I said you swing and feel the force of the stroke. What am I developing? I'm developing a feel for a stroke called a golf swing. This is a golf swing rolling the ball in the hole. It's not a lift, it's not a push, it's not a stab, it's a swinging motion. A swinging motion creates a sense of rhythm. You'll see that the arms and hands are working as a unit without excessive wrist action as I swing the putter head back and through the ball. The hands are holding the club lightly, and the pressure is staying constant and the same as I swing the putter head back and through the ball toward the hole. Once in a while, we miss the putt, but 2 out of 3 isn't bad. That's success. And then we work back from here to the edge of the green and then start pitching the ball onto the green toward the hole.
Bob, we're about 30 feet from the hole now. How would you prepare your mind and body to negotiate this distance?
Now I've got to work on the distance of the putt. And this is where the length of the stroke and the speed of the stroke becomes very important in getting the ball in the hole or close to the hole. And how do we learn to do that? Well, the beauty of what I'm going to show you is that the stroke is going to be consistent in its rhythm.
Like a pendulum?
Like a pendulum motion which gradually picks up speed without being forced or jerked. I have a mannerism to put the putter head in front of the ball and then back to get a sense of movement that gives me some rhythm.
We got that good and solid.
Well, I got lucky and hold it on the first stroke.
Did your grip pressure change any now, Bob, as you have it a little further to make the ball?
My grip pressure has increased a little bit, and the beauty of understanding your grip pressure is when I place my hands on the club, if I can just take my right hand and squeeze my middle part of my left arm and be able to penetrate it, I know I'm not holding the putter too tight. I'm concentrating on the length of the stroke and the speed of the stroke, and I'm trying to keep my grip pressure constant and the same.
Have you made another one?
Now, I went by the hole, but the important thing is when we're putting from a distance of 30 feet is to trust the length of the stroke and the speed of the stroke through the golf ball, but keep your grip pressure constant and the same. And if your grip pressure is constant and the same as you swing the putter head back and through the ball, your stroke will be smooth. You'll hit the ball more solid, and you'll get the ball closer to the hole more often, even though you don't make it.
Bob, we've changed the situation now so that you have a distance of about 60 yards to go to the flagstick, 50 of it across this bunker and a little bit of wind in your face. You have a sand wedge in your hand. How would you prepare now to play this shot under those conditions?
My first thought is to get enough speed and enough length swing to contact the ball with enough force to drop it over that bunker onto the green.
So now we're going to see your feet and legs begin to support the motion of your hands and arms as your swing gets longer.
Yes, we have to learn to marry our foot action and hand action and our leg and arm action as a team. First of all, we place the club head behind the ball and aim it toward the flagstick. In so doing, the ball will be placed somewhere near the center of my stance, and my weight will be moved slightly forward toward my left foot. My hands feel slightly ahead of the ball, which gives me a feeling of creating a downward accelerated action into the ball as I shift my weight. As you swing the golf club back with your hands and arms, the weight of the club will bend and turn your wrist without you trying to force them. As you swing your arms down and shift your weight, your wrist will begin to unwind. As the club is striking down, the club is turning through and around, and your arms keep going around and up to complete the swing force to carry the ball to the hole. Watch and see how well I try to time the stroke of the golf swing by giving it plenty of time, around and up, down through and around and up.
When I watch you play that shot, Bob, it looks like there's enough swing to knock that ball 100 yards, but you have a lot of sensitivity and feel because of the smoothness and the softness in the movement of your body and arm.
I trust the freedom of my arms to swing the club around and up, which creates a nice body pivot, and I allow the weight of the club to cock my wrist. I don't try to force my wrist to cock and uncock. I let the weight and the speed and the length of the golf club to cock my hands and wrist in position at the top. The important thing is not to try to force the action of your hands and wrists and force the action of your arms, which disrupts the timing of your swing. Swing your arms, allow your body to turn, and trust your hand speed through the ball with your arms to get the ball up to the flag.
That's beautiful contact, Bob. I've seen you use the right hand off after impact drill here to help people identify the flow of control of the golf swing with their left arm and left leg a little bit. Would you mind doing that drill for us?
The beauty of this drill is so that you feel the left arm and the left side of the body moving to control the force of the swing through the ball. If the left arm stops, if the left leg stops, then the whole force of the swing, the whole force of the golf swing collapses at the point of impact. So this is the type of a sensation a player will feel as he goes through the ball. If he leaves go of the golf club right at the point of impact, or just after impact with his right hand, he will feel the acceleration of his left arm around and up to carry the force of the swing through the ball. It's called right hand off after impact through the ball. Well, that keeps the golf club moving through the ball to carry the ball to the flag.
Everyone swings the club differently. Some are faster, some are slower. But the mark of a good player is the consistency with which he swings with every club.
Les makes the comparisons of Bob Toski making a 60-yard sand wedge shot, a full swing with a 5-iron, and a full swing with a driver. You use 3 clubs and obviously hit the ball 3 different distances. How would you compare your effort level on those 3 shots, Bob?
Well, Jim, I was concentrating on the length of the swing and not trying to force the effort level of my body. The word swing is the most important word to a golfer. I simply thought of the length and the timing and the rhythm of the swing. That's the name of the game of golf.
I get this feeling that your hands very much are aware of what the face of the club and the shaft of the club is doing, and your feet give you a sense of balance.
They certainly do, Jim. If I didn't do that, I couldn't be a very good golfer. Because your 2 contact points in playing golf is your hands are touching the golf club and your feet are touching the ground. And you can only swing your golf club at a rate of speed in which the strength of your hands and wrists and arms can bear. Let's start by hitting a couple of shots with the 7-iron here and demonstrating hand and arm control. And you'll see that I'm swinging the golf club with my arms and hands, striking a nice, crisp, solid blow to hit the ball toward my target. Now, there wasn't very much foot and leg action there because I'm not trying to hit the ball to a great distance. But I am establishing the contact of the club against the ball through the use of my hands and wrists and arms, and I'm only swinging this golf club at a rate of speed which my arms and hands can bear. Now, as I swing the golf club back a little further, you'll see that my feet and my legs become more active in supporting the speed and the length of my arms and hands. And you should work to that slowly and easily and not try to force the action of the upper and lower part of your body. I lose feel for the golf club club and around the golf, and you will also when you lose faith and confidence in your ability to trust what your hands and arms and feet and legs can do. The two things that will kill your golf swing faster than you can realize is tension and anxiety. How do you eliminate tension and anxiety in your golf swing? You start by sensitizing your hands on the club without getting too much pressure in your hands and arms. And when you do that, you eliminate excessive anxiety to swing the club too fast. Start with an easy swing, a short, easy swing to establish the feeling of the club swinging from square to open to square to close as it goes forward and around. And then try to simply increase the length of the swing and eliminate excessive tension and anxiety. When you do that, the swing feels rhythmic, smooth, timed, and well coordinated. We have seen more basket cases on the practice tee than you can imagine. It comes from the fact that, number one, the left arm tries to stay too straight and too rigid. And here's what happens when the player tries to keep his left arm too straight and too rigid. You find yourself swinging the golf club very vertical because the arm can't rotate. It's too tight. And therefore, that takes away the rhythm of your golf swing, and you might look something like this. You get going too vertical, and then you might force down, or you might force up. You don't get a natural free rotation of the left arm moving around your body, over your right shoulder, down and around and over your left shoulder. So the left arm shouldn't be straight or too stiff. It should remain extended. Number two, the left heel staying down in the course of the backswing. We see more golfers trying to keep their left heel down, which takes away the shifting of the weight to the right foot, keeps the weight on the left side. Then the player has what we call a reverse pivot because he's not allowed the weight to get over to the right side to shift back to the left side. So if we're a little more toe and heel and allow the heel to come off the ground, our body will pivot much easier. The swing gets around our body freer. We get more rhythm and better timing and better balance in our golf swing. And keeping the head down. Boy, what a wonderful cliche that is. Most people that keep their head down never find the golf ball after they hit it. The head, when you try to keep your head down, number one, your neck muscles get real tight and your shoulders can't turn because your cranium is staring at the ball and your neck muscles are restricting your shoulders from turning, and you look something like that. I've seen that so many times, it makes me ill in my stomach. In a good golf swing, the head follows the fly of the ball after the ball has been struck. Well, all great players usually have a good routine and a good sense of awareness of feeling what their body is going to do while they're preparing to hit the golf shot and while they're striking the golf shot. And I'd like to go through this routine and help you as a golfer become a better player through this routine and establishing the golf swing.
So that'll kind of turn off the mechanical aspect and get us into tying together the mental and the physical of the golf swing.
That's correct. Before I strike the golf ball, I look down my target line and I establish the type of golf shot I want to play. And while I'm doing that, I'm trying to feel the correct position of my hands on the golf club, and I'm trying to establish the correct amount of grip pressure. I walk into the golf ball from the side, and as I do that, I keep looking down my target line through my eyes and establish the position of my golf club first against the ball. You notice I moved into the ball with my right foot first, then my left foot, and then I reestablish the position of both feet while I waggle the golf club back and through the golf ball. Looking down the target line with my eyes, I then sense the position of my ball in relationship to my feet, which is toward the instep of my left heel. At all times, I'm in movement with my hands and wrists and arms and feet so that my rhythm of my body will be smooth and easy. Once I've established that sense of feel, I'm ready to start my golf swing, and I feel a slight forward pressure with my right knee against my left. This helps for my feet and legs to get in rhythm with my arms and hands. I start the club head straight back along the line. I allow my arms and hands to swing the club around my body, and as I do that, I can feel my hips and shoulders turning in response to my arms and hands swinging around my body. I feel the weight getting over to my right leg, ready to move into my left side. The club is right over the top of my right shoulder. I have now established an excellent position to shift my weight. I feel my left foot come down. I feel my weight going into my left side. The club head squares up against the ball, and I feel my arms and hands move around my body and finish a complete swing with my weight well on my left side, and I try to follow the fly of the ball down the fairway. The word swing is the most important word to a golfer. Just remember that the golf swing is a measure of time. Give yourself time to swing the golf club. Give yourself time to move in position. Give yourself time to find that the swing will work for you. If you don't, you'll disrupt the force of the swing, mishit the ball, and the ball can go in any direction.
There are several things that a weaker and smaller player might do to get more out of their golf swing. And the one thing that I have found that has helped so many is for the player to keep their elbows together throughout the swing. And by that I mean their elbows would stay, like for instance mine are about 4 inches apart. I would maintain that same distance from back to through. You see, this is where the meat of the swing is, from hip to hip. In doing this, we get that natural release. Notice the right hand climbs right over the left. And that's what we're trying to accomplish. Another point that you might want to try for added power would be to close your stance slightly. By that I mean you draw your right foot back of the line and even fan that right toe a little bit. Placing the ball back to the center a little more. And by that stance, I'll get a big turn and a good weight shift behind the ball. Most weaker players need to work on their left arm. And one of the drills I find most helpful is to take a right angle here, keep this flat, rotate the forearm over, and hold, count to 5, rotate it over, count to 5. You're rotating this forearm and developing that muscle. This is where your golf swing is. Rotates here and there. Strength alone is not what gives you distance. What gives you distance is timing and rhythm, but you'll have to practice.
The practice tee is the workshop for the golf swing. It's where you take the ideas that you get from your professional and put them from your mind into your body. Work with your golf professional on your individual differences, and you'll find your answer to your own best swing. According to golf statistics, less than 25% of all of our shots are actually taken from the tee area or in a full swing out on the fairway. You know, I think those statistics are a little bit misleading because we know how difficult it is to try to make a low score when you can't get the ball in play from the tee. People frequently ask me, what's the secret to distance? And although physical factors are important like strength and flexibility, One of the best ways to improve is simply to make your golf swing better, to improve your technique and your timing. Peggy Kirk Bell and Rod Myers are at the practice tee now to help you on your technique for long irons and woods so that you can improve your distance.
Let's take a look at a few of the fundamentals that are going to be very basic in helping you be a better driver of the ball. As you tee the ball, tee it as high as you like, but a good rule of thumb is teeing half the distance above the head of the wood. If you're having trouble getting it up in the air, tee it a little higher. If you're hitting it too high, don't be afraid to lower the tee. I want you to realize the most important thing is getting into a good pre-swing routine. Work on this on the practice tee, make it consistent, and make it full of good, sound fundamentals. A few ideas. Step in with the right foot. Square the club face to your target line. Spread your left foot out, and as you do so, you're getting your ball position inside the left heel. The width of your stance should be about shoulder width or maybe even a little bit wider. Your alignment is extremely important. Feet, hips, and shoulders should be lined parallel to the target line. Good extension with the left arm as you take position. The right elbow is going to be relaxed and set, allowing your body to set up and align correctly. Once we've got ourselves in good position, then we're ready to concentrate on the fundamentals in the swing. Starting with the arms, let the arms swing back, low and slow. Take a nice full turn and let your back face the target. You'll notice the weight now has shifted more over to the right side, and I'm turning around the right knee. As we start the downswing, the lower body will start the action. Your primary thought should then be on letting your arms go freely right toward the target. Then concentrate on acceleration and allow the club to go through and finish very full. Let me hit one shot for you. Getting into a good position, same routine each time. Nice and slow, and finish on balance. The fundamentals for hitting the fairway woods are basically the same as those for hitting the driver. We're going to make a couple of minor changes. The primary change is the position of the ball. We want to move the ball back a little further towards the center of the stance. This is going to enable us to hit the ball with a slightly descending action, getting the club face down to the ball, and therefore getting the trajectory of the shot that we're looking for. With the driver, we had the ball placed a little more forward. This actually enabled us to use an ascending blow with the ball sitting on the tee. But as I take position, the same fundamentals that I worked on with the driver are important here. As we swing back, make sure that we're getting the weight back on the right side and turning around that right knee. Then as we start onto the target, make sure those arms are swinging and accelerating right down the target line. Watch the routine. Stepping in. Getting my ball position back just slightly further. Couple waggles, and then swinging back and forth. you should find that you can play those fairway woods much easier with just consistent practice and a good routine.
If you can hit a 7-iron, you can hit a 1, 2, or 3-iron. The only difference between the 7-iron or your 5-iron and a long iron is the length of the shaft and the lack of loft on the blade. Therefore, you will play this iron similar to your 5-wood, meaning 2 inches inside your left heel with your weight equally distributed on both feet. Note that I would not widen my stance, and that's a common error that a lot of you will make because you have this longer club that you might be afraid of, and you'll get a wide stance and do a lot of body motion. So we'll keep our normal stance, and I'm going to grip a little bit on the inside of my right foot so I can use this right leg as a post and turn on it. Otherwise, I would give way. Very common on a long iron to give way. We want to stay right there, take it low along the ground, similar to your wood again, so that you get that big shoulder turn and that good body coil. Notice how I keep in motion, do not freeze, waggling away here, take a little press, low back, through to the finish, in good balance, and hold. All great players are fine long iron players. You can be a fine long iron player, but you'll have to practice.
These are the clubs that seem to give all golfers the most trouble, the long irons and the woods. And there are 3 very good reasons for that. First of all, 2 of them are mechanical. The length of the club itself presents a problem, because we know that in golf, anytime we shorten down on a club, we have more control. And as the club gets longer, it becomes more difficult to wield and to be able to return it to an object, the ball down at the ground. So the longer the club, the more difficult it is to hit. Another physical reason is that these clubs, like this iron, which is a 1-iron, has a very straight face, straight blade to it. When a ball strikes that face, the ball has a tendency to go across the face to pick up spin, side spin, which curves the ball. Whereas in a 9-iron or a pitching wedge with more loft, it has more backspin, and the ball won't curve as much with backspin. So when you hit a driver or you hit a long iron and you have a lot of hook or slice, the reason primarily is because you've hit the ball a glancing blow and because it has a straight face to it. And the third reason is psychological. Think about it for a moment. When do you use these clubs? You use your long irons and your woods when you're a long distance from the target. Whenever you're a long distance from something, you're going to want to exert more physical effort to get it there. That's the psychology of it. You're thinking to yourself, I'm going to have to hit this hard. And of course, that's exactly the wrong psychology. Let me demonstrate to you the result of using that frame of mind when you go to hit a long iron. And it's not a good one. That's the typical swing that you see on the tee or in the fairway when someone's hitting a long iron like a 2-iron. What you should be seeing is a swing that looks more like this. The reason that I'm able to make a swing like that on a long iron is because I really play a little psychological trick on myself. I don't admit to the fact that I've got a 1 or a 2-iron in my hand. I imagine for the moment that I have a 6-iron in my hand, and the 6-iron happens to be my favorite club to hit. So I'm going to show you how I make a swing with a 6-iron, and then show you the 1-iron swing, and you'll note that the pace is almost exactly the same. 6-iron swing. Now, 1-iron swing, and there'll be no more extra attempt to hit harder. And that's a little trick that you can use to help you overcome the fear of playing long irons. Your professional will often suggest to you drills or aids to help you in your learning process. I have a learning aid right here. It's a soft-shafted club which gives you extra feel in trying to learn the golf swing. When I swing it correctly, I won't notice the shaft bending perceptibly. But if I try to hit rather than swing, and I try to hit too soon, like we were doing on the bad shot with the iron, you see the shaft bends noticeably, and I can feel it, and it will give me a very, very bad shot. If you don't have access to such an aid, you can take your own golf club and check it with a simple drill like this. Bad swings sound like this. A good swing sounds like this. The noise is where the ball is. In a bad swing, you've given up too much power and energy back where the ball isn't. And that's the difference between a hitting swing and a swinging hit. We want you to have a swinging hit. Now let's go out on the golf course with Rod and with Peggy and watch the tempo in their long irons and woods.
What a beautiful day.
Oh, it's great. Just terrific. Well, we've got the drives out here in nice position.
But look where they put that pin. Right on the ball.
Here's the 200-yard marker. I'll park the cart here between both balls, and let me get a quick yardage check back to that 200-yard marker. Oh, I've got 12 paces. Looks like we've got about 188 yards to the center of the green. We got a little breeze behind us. I normally hit a 3-iron from 185. I think I've got enough breeze behind me to hit the 3-iron still, even though we're a little longer. I've got to make sure that I select enough club to get over the bunker that's guarding the pin. So the pin's a little further back. I want to make sure I carry the bunker. Most of the problem is over there on the left of that bunker. So I'm going to try to favor the right side a little bit. I'm going to aim about 20 feet to the right of the flagstick. This is not the time for me to start thinking about the technique and the things that I worked on the practice tee. That should come into play. I'm going to be concerned about developing a nice, smooth tempo and making good contact with the ball and not hurrying anything. So I've got plenty of club. I feel very confident in it. Get into my good setup position very naturally and then just make a good, smooth swing.
Great shot, Rod.
I'll take that one.
I've selected my 5-wood. Even though I'm 10 yards up in front of you, I could not carry an iron on that green and have it hold. If I was back a little farther, I would hit a 3-wood and play the opening over here and not carry those bunkers. But I'm going to take this 5-wood, hit it high, land it on the green, and it will hold. You'll notice that when I come in from behind to hit this ball, I will drop my right shoulder slightly, just sort of relaxing and feeling the swing. You notice that I will take a normal stance. I feel very strong at this addressed position. I will waggle, stay in motion. This relaxes me, and I feel the rhythm of the swing. Then I forward press, big swing, and through to the finish. That gives me a high flying ball right on target, I hope.
How many times do you have a good round going and you come to a difficult, strategic driving hole, one which requires the use of your brain, not just your body? Well, we have such a hole right here in front of us. It's an interesting hole because it's a par 5 dogleg left with 2 fairways to it, a tempting fairway on the left that likes to draw you over there toward the trouble, and a more open fairway on the right with a stand of trees down the middle. But even before I plan my strategy for this hole, I have a little residual left over from the last hole because I three-putted back there. And I might have a little anger still in me about the fact that I didn't make my par. And I don't want that to be brought with me to this tee, because if I try to use that and hit a little harder, I might end up, again, making a bad swing, hitting it into trouble, and costing me more shots in the long run. So what I'm going to do is to first tee the ball closer to the left side. In fact, I can tee it near the marker here and stand outside the teeing area as long as I tee the ball within the teeing area. I'm going to stand closer to this side where the trouble is because I want to work the ball away from the trouble. Now, a lot of you say, oh, I've heard that before. You know, I've played with all kinds of amateurs who said, I've heard that, but they don't do it. You see, the angle it changes here may give you a 10 or 15 yards more to the right than you would normally hit and save you from going out of bounds or in the woods. So that's why this is a good decision. The next thing I'm going to do is get a good picture of the shot I want to hit. I'm going to take it up over the trees on the left side a little bit and let it fade back into the fairway almost beyond the trees and a little to the right, so it's very safe. It's just too dangerous. The risks are too high to go left. So now I go through my alignment procedure where I look the direction I'd like to make my swing. I make sure that my grip, in my left hand in particular, is a little stronger than normal, so my left wrist doesn't break down, the club head past my hands and hook it into the left rough. Then I'm setting my body line a little bit to the left so the ball will come back to the right. I go through my normal routine, which is the distance from the ball, measured by my left arm on my chest, ball position just underneath my left arm for a tee ball, and then I just get a good picture of the best swing I can make and let her go and not worry about the consequences. And that's how I put a ball into position so that I make a par on this hole. When I'm working on my full swing, I like to pick out my favorite iron in the middle, which is a 6 iron. The reason I choose a 6 because it's really kind of an offensive shot as opposed to a little short pitch, which is maybe more defensive, like a wedge or 9 iron to practice with. This is a swing where we make a full motion swing to the target. And yet at the same time, differing from the driver, it's not one where I'm going to try to hit it too hard. Therefore, it's a very good middle iron to practice. I'm going to go through some of my routine as I prepare to hit a middle iron shot. First of all, in all good golf shots, paying attention to my grip. I like to hold my grip in front of me and look at my hand position before I sole the club to the ground. One of the considerations in the middle iron play is the positioning of the ball. For a teed shot, of course, we're up toward the left instep of the left foot, where we can hit the ball an ascending blow. But now that the ball is in the middle iron range, we're back a little more toward the center of the stance. It'll depend somewhat on how much leg action you use. If you use a lot of leg drive, the ball will be farther forward. If you don't use very much, it'll be more to the center. Feet are not too wide, not as wide as they are in a driver. Comfortable position, not quite as wide as the shoulder. So I'm paying attention to my details of grip aim, setup and ball position before I make my shot, each time. The middle iron swing, not terribly hard, and yet full in motion. Probably the most famous middle iron ever hit in golf history was a 5-iron that Jerry Pate hit to the 18th green at the Atlanta Athletic Club to help him win the U.S. Open Championship. We're fortunate today in having Jerry Pate's college coach from the University of Alabama, Conrad Railing, here to help us learn how to hit the middle iron.
The middle iron is very important because it's the second shot to the green, and of course these are the clubs that really give you the scoring punch. Jerry Pate had to play this shot for winning the United States Open Championship. He hit the 5-iron 190 yards, and one of the things that helped him perform this shot was the fact that he had good tempo and good rhythm in his swing. One of the little drills that we use to help teach this is by taking the club to get the idea of rhythm of the arms and the shoulders, is simply taking the club up, turning it, and striking the golf ball. That gives us a little bit of an idea of the speed of our arms related to our shoulders. We just turn and hit it. We're coming straight up, turn, and just hit it. And this helps us learn what the arms are doing. And if we just keep the swing smooth and keep our tempo and rhythm moving, we should be able to hit a good golf shot.
As we get closer to the green, accuracy becomes more and more important. Peggy Kirk-Bell is going to show you two kinds of iron shots that can help you in your accuracy as you get closer to the green.
This is the fun club. This is the short iron. And this is the club that will give you the accuracy and will let you hit the ball to the green and right down in there for a one putt. We're going to take our stance, which is a little narrower than your 5-iron because you have a shorter club. Going to play the ball in the middle of our feet because I want a more descending blow down and through. And we're going to stand in our good golfing posture, which is lining your hips and shoulders and feet to your line. We're going to take the club back with a nice shoulder turn and through to the finish. The one fault that you're apt to make is because you're anxious to hit it. You want to put it with that pin, is to quickly snatch it back and fail to make that good shoulder turn. You must make that in order to get behind the ball and through to the finish. From this same distance, taking your 8-iron, you should have another shot, which is a 3/4 shot. And that is, you take the club back, and half through. This will give you more accuracy. This will give you a feeling of control. And this will give you a little more action on the ball. On this 3/4 shot, I must be aware of my target line. And then I must make sure that my stance is slightly open, my left foot being back, and that I'm playing the ball about in the middle of my feet. Notice, too, that my knees are lined up on my target line, but my hips are slightly open with my stance. You notice my right knee's tucked in a little bit. My weight's going to hang left. My shoulders are going to be parallel to my target line, so that I'm very, very aware of my direction and my target line. Oftentimes, the player will open their shoulders and they really cannot be aware of the line that their club is going down. Good shoulder turn, down and through. I kept my left hand and arm going through the target a little longer. It's This is very important to hitting this shot with some action on it. On both of these shots, it's important that you lead with the left in order to get the backspin on the ball. You might have a little drill where you would want to brush with your left. Brush with your left. Making sure that your left goes through to the target. Keeping my head steady. Swinging that left arm through to the fence.
Well, Coach, I'm going to have to get this one kind of close if Peg and I are going to catch you. You've gone through a lot of the mechanics on hitting the short iron shot to the green, but when you get to the spot on the golf course, there are a lot of things that have to happen in planning besides just making a mechanical golf swing. What we're going to do, first of all, is to decide how is the lie as far as the ball is concerned. If it's a difficult lie, I'd have to play a special shot, but this is a lie in which is sitting up well in the grass, and so I can hit my normal shot from here. The next thing is the distance. I've looked back at my distance marker, taken my steps, and found that I'm 110 yards from the green. So I've selected my club that I use to hit a ball 110 yards in length. The next thing is wind, because this may be a factor also in my selection. Right now the wind is just a little bit behind me, and so that's just going to help me to decide what effort I need to make in this swing. I'm going to have to let up just a little bit, not give it quite as much as I would for full effort. Also then I'll take a look at the problems around the green. There's a bunker right here in front, and if I bury the ball into that bunker, it might be difficult for me to get it up and down in two. So if anything, I'm going to make sure that, well, it could be a little bit long rather than a little bit short on this shot. Now I've got to get a picture in my mind of the shot I'd like to hit. I want to see it actually hit and see the ball going up in the air, curving to the target, coming down by the flagstick and rolling toward the hole. Now, you might think that these things are advanced, pro tour player kind of decisions, but even the average player, the better than average player that wants to be better, if you want to be better, you'll find that these little extra decisions are going to help you in becoming more consistent in your game. I take a physical rehearsal after I've had my visualization. Even though you've swung the club thousands of times in practice swing, this still gives you a little reinforcement for confidence. Then I pick up an intermediary target to my flag. I draw a line back from the flagstick to the ball, and I've got a little leaf out here in the fairway. Just to the right of that is my spot to align on. Then I go through my pre-shot routine, which is grip, distance from the ball, ball placement, aiming, then setup, and waggle to stay comfortable to get ready to make my shot. Now, one very important point. I am not thinking arm straight, head down, blow back, mechanics, details. Those are the destroyers of the swing. What I'm thinking now is I'm thinking in pictures. I'm seeing what's going to happen in the next few seconds. And that helps me to produce that action. So I'm into my routine, I make my waggles, and I say, ready, aim, and flyer. And that's how we want to hit the shot from this distance.
My name is Bob Mann. I turned professional in 1967. But after turning professional, I then got really involved in a lot of sports. I had concentrated up until that time in golf and played some tennis, but I really, after I turned professional, got very interested in a lot of sports. And in the middle 70s through the end of 1978, as an adult, I did that which I had not done out of high school. I returned to college, or went back to college as an adult. University of Florida Physical Education Department. And I was there for about 4.5 years, enjoyed it very thoroughly. And there were two things that I observed while I was there and participating in all these sports, kayaking, archery, karate, plus keeping my golf game up. First thing I noticed is that the power source in nearly every sport, almost without exception, is the same. Whether it's hitting a golf ball, throwing a punch, throwing a baseball, it's the legs. It's the feet and legs that's the power source in golf, and certainly in karate, throwing a baseball. And if you notice the knockout punches, they're really here in the feet and the legs. It's exactly the same as golf. And tonight, one of the things we're going to do is teach you how to tap in to this power source in such a way that has an automatic response, truly automatic. Just by tapping into this motor or power source, you're going to hit the ball not only a lot firmer and more solidly, but truer and more on line. Now, that's a claim that, of course, I'll support with the evidence in a few minutes. The second experience I had while being there at the University of Florida was getting involved in archery. Now, for those of you who have never seen target archery, it's quite a beautiful sport, particularly for the participant, I guess a little bit for the spectators. But in target archery, it's very equipment intensive. Now, you have this bow out here with all of these appendages and weights on it, and it's quite an expensive piece of gear. And you push this bow. You don't really hold it, you push this bow. And archers are very, very meticulous and detail conscious, both in the preparation of the equipment and the shot. And boy, you push this bow out here and you put your fingers on that string, and then with these back muscles, you begin to pull that bow, and you pull it, and you pull it, and you pull it, and you pull it, and you get just right, you get the string right on the nose, and as soon as that arrow comes through what's known as the clicker on the bow, you just let go. And if you just simply pull that bow back, pull that string back and let go, the flight of the arrow is beautiful, it's true, and it's natural. But you know what happens if you try to aim that arrow? Oh, you release it, or you try to get it into the target, folks. The arrow flies bad, it flies short, and it doesn't feel good. So in archery, all of the preparation is before the shot, and the shot itself is an automatic natural release. And I got very deeply involved in archery, and I saw some very fine world-class archers, and I said, boy, if I could just make golf like that for myself and my students, that we did all the preparation in front, and that the shot itself was just a joyous, natural, releasing action. And that's how automatic golf had its genesis or start. Back there at the University of Florida several years ago, when I was understanding and learning more about the biomechanics of all sports, and therefore improving the mechanics of my golf game, and at the same time seeking after or grasping this feeling, boy, if we can just do all the preparation in advance and then have the shot come off. And the name automatic golf is not one that I came up with. My students came up with it. Said, Bob, if you just do just exactly what you said, it's automatic. And I think that that's what you'll experience here tonight. A method where we do all the preparation before the swing, and the swing just simply occurs. And boy, it's a beautiful experience. The swing becomes an expansive, pleasureful action that's truly automatic. I want to show you something. I've placed my hands on the club, and I'm going to put my hands out in front of me. My hands are on the club, and all I'm going to do is lower the club. And then I'm going to lower with my knees. And if you notice, I'm in a pretty doggone good starting position. Now watch this. If I bring the club back up, I haven't really changed anything. And if I simply move the club over here without changing it, aren't I in a pretty good position to hit that ball? Now watch this. I'm in the same position, and I can come over here and in that same position, and I guess a lot of us would like to finish every shot about like that. So if you put your hands on that club precisely in a certain manner, and there's only one grip that'll do it, the grip actually does not change throughout the whole swing. Now look what we've done. and all of you know enough about mechanics to know that if we create a machine and eliminate all of these moving parts, all of this, and this, not only have we got a more reliable machine that's going to repeat its action time after time, or in this case, a more reliable swing that will repeat, but also we've increased, not decreased, the power. Now, why does getting all of this floppy movement out of the hands increase the power in a golf swing? Well, folks, you know that if you wanted to go up and hit somebody, you certainly couldn't do much damage like that. The damage comes from the body weight. If we hit somebody like this, we're going to hurt them. But if we go up and hit them like this, it means nothing. It's the same. Even though you know logically that you can't add anything, this is the tendency in golf. And we're going to remove that by placing your hands absolutely, meticulously, in an exact fashion on that golf club. What I want you to do with that little piece of doweling, or your stick for the night, is grip it in your right hand up at the top. Right hand up in the top, just the reverse of where you're going to grip a golf club. And extend it right out in front of you at a 45-degree angle. Not here, but right out in front of you at about a 45-degree angle. Now, not in here, just push it right out there, right out there. Okay, you've learned the first move. You can relax now. You can put that down. And now we're going to look at the left hand. And here's what I want you to do with the left hand. I want you to take this forefinger and simply touch the pad under the thumb. Make certain that the thumb is curved in, not out, not bent, but curved in, right like this. Touch the pad, forefinger against pad, and close up your hand, just like this. This thumb against this pad, this forefinger right here, just like that. That's fine, folks. Now look at the inside of your hand. And what I want you to do now is close your hand. But I want you to bring these fingers way down here and touch the pad of this hand, just like this. Not like this, but bring them way down here and touch the pad of this hand. So what we've got is the forefinger touching the pad of the thumb laying against this part of the hand, and the fingers right there. Now open your hand ever so slightly. And just pretend that you had a small, tiny little lemon in there in the last three fingers, and you wanted to get all the juice out of it and squeeze it. Just with the last three fingers. Just with the last three fingers. Okay. Now, keep your hand, open it just a little bit. Take that piece of doweling, or your golf club tonight, push it right out in front of you with your right hand, and come in, folks, and put this left hand down on top of the club, right there. Just come in, right there, over on top, not around here, right over, right down on the club, right there, just like that, just exactly like that. Now extend the left hand out in front of you, remove the right hand. Now take your right forefinger, reach up here and touch your left hand, and you'll find two ligaments. Now if you went by the numbers, 45-degree angle, came in and put your left hand over and down on the club, you'll find those two ligaments and a little space in between them. If you did this number, you won't find them. So it's there at 45-degree angles. Find these two ligaments and the little space in between it. Put your thumb in that space, the forefinger up here, and make certain that this space is directly over the shaft of the club. If you're over here to the right, come back, regrip it, start all over again, and get it centered. If you're over here to the left, this way, come back and center it. This space between these two ligaments, directly over the shaft of the club. Okay, now, for this to happen, painting by numbers again, you must extend the club with your right hand. A 45-degree angle, fully extended in front of you. Come up and touch this forefinger to the thumb. Bring these fingers into the pad of the hand, open just enough to come in and put your hand over and down on the club. Close it like you were squeezing a small lemon right here. Let the finger and the thumb go. Let the finger and the thumb go. Now, do you really have it? Yank on it with your other hand. Do you really have it in those three fingers? If you've got it in those three fingers, you got an angle here. You've got this space right over the shaft, and you can feel this space. You've got your left hand on there properly. Okay. Now, what we're going to do now is put your right hand on, and this will work fine if the left hand's on there just right. So before we do the right hand, let's see you all without instruction. Just put your left hand on the club. I'll walk a little bit around the audience and make certain that we've got the left hand on there properly. Okay. Folks, let me show you this little move right here. This last little move, when we put the left hand on here, is to shorten the thumb and increase the pressure in these 3 fingers. You see, if the thumb goes up here, we are holding this club in these 2 fingers. And we're going to get up here and we're just going to flop all over the place. And we're not going to be in this absolutely perfect neutral to neutral to neutral position. So it's right here, the pressure's in these 3 fingers. These 3 fingers. Okay, if you have that, we're going to put the right hand on the club now. And the way you do that is extend the left hand out in front of you. Take your right hand and take the middle 2 fingers, the second pad. Not the first pad, not the third, but the second pad, and place it directly on the bottom of the club adjacent to your left hand. These 2 fingers right here. Now very slowly begin to close by squeezing these fingers. Don't come down here with your hand. Simply close the fingers until you get nearly closed. And what you'll see is that the pad of the right hand makes a perfect pocket for the left thumb. And then just fit that thumb in there and continue to close your hand. And that's all you do. Now what you'll notice is that your right thumb is over on the left side of the golf club. That there's no pressure at all of the right thumb on the shaft of the club. And that's extremely important because those pinching muscles with either hand, they are scared, steer it around the golf course, try to keep the ball in play, patty cake it, kind of swinging it. But when we get these thumbs off the golf club, particularly the right thumb, by gripping it precisely in this manner, the second pad, slowly closing the pressure, bringing the right thumb over the left thumb, or the right pad over the left thumb, and the right thumb on the left side of the club. We could even do this. We could hit the ball fine, just like this, but we can't have the pressure here. Now, as you apply more pressure, and I want you to think about those 2 fingers, and just kind of squeeze those fingers like you were milking a small lemon there, what you'll notice is you'll get some pressure right here on the back of the right hand. This is good, healthy right hand pressure. And I'm going to do my Arnold Palmer imitation for you, hitting a little maybe 7 or 8 iron punch shot. And I'll show you the right hand functioning in golf. Is that not Arnold? Well, he goes a little more like this, doesn't he? You see? But he's getting the back of this hand right through the shot. Now, we're going to go by the numbers on the whole grip. We come over, place the club in front of us. Down with the left hand. We check the alignment by the space between the 2 ligaments. We make certain that we've maintained the 45-degree angle, that all the pressure's back here. We could let loose with these 2 fingers. We come on with the right hand, simply roll the right hand over, fit right down on the thumb, and we've got an absolutely perfect fit. But what we've also got, most important, is 2 things. We've got a completely neutral position. All we have to do is lower the club. It's in exactly the proper position for the top of the swing, and it's in exactly the proper position for the completion of the swing. Now what I'm going to do at this point is get somebody out of the audience. Can I use you, sir? Could you come on up? And what I'm going to show you is how this system begins to get automatic. Would you leave? Just go ahead and leave the dialing back down. Alrighty. I'm going to talk you through the grip here. Once you've got the grip, I just want you to hold it out in front of you, and then I'm going to get you into position just automatically. Take the club in your right hand, extend it right out in front of you, grip it up a little bit higher, right up above the grip. Okay, come in with your left hand over and down. I want you to form your hand. Yes, there we go. Form your hand before you get it on there. No rolling or closing. And just simply close the hand. Okay, now we've got a couple things I want you to observe here. I think the face is a little open, so let's start again and get the face square before we start. Good, come in here, set it down right there. All right, let loose with your right hand. Do you feel most of the pressure in your left hand right here? Extend your left arm. Nope, just extend your left arm. Now you should feel a little pull right back here. A little pull maybe right back here. A little bit. If you let loose this way, you'd feel all the pull here. I want you to feel it right here. This is a definite, I've got it kind of a feeling. Okay, now give me your right hand. We're going much more slowly. These 2 pads right here, I simply want you to close, and let me do the closing here to get this fitting exactly over the thumb right there. Give me a little more pressure here to increase the pressure here. Let the thumb go. all the pressure off the thumb and just simply let it ride against the club. So what we should have here is about 60% of the pressure here, 30% of the pressure here, and about 10 here. Is that approximately what we've got?
Sounds good.
All righty. Your hands cohesively together. Spread your feet just a little bit. Turn your left foot out slightly to the left. And all I want you to do now is don't lower your upper body. Just simply look up, keeping this position exactly the same.
All right.
Now, folks, we can't do this. We've got to maintain this position because we want it to be totally neutral. Simply lower the club, not your upper body. Just simply lower the club. That's right. Now, simply sit down, lower your knees, continue to lower the club with your knees, keeping the hand in exactly this position. No, I don't want you to do anything right there except exactly what it was. Okay, now right there. Now, I didn't tell this man about anything about living 2 inches behind the ball or whatever. Is he not in a perfect, absolutely perfect position? Now, somebody in every audience usually says to me, but Bob, what about if we're hitting a driver and we want the club up in the left side of the stance? And what if we're hitting a little wedge shot and the club is in the back? I'm going to show you something here. Nothing changes. If we're hitting the ball, or if we're planning on hitting a driver, we have a longer club, we're going to use a wider stance. We put our hands on the club. We stand out here, maybe a slightly closed stance, a wider stance. All we do is the same thing. Watch what happens. We simply lower the club, and the club is forward appearing. Now watch this. We're going to hit a little 8-iron shot. Now all we do is change the stance. An open stance, a little narrower stance. We move the club down. It appears that the club is in a different position. It's in exactly, precisely the same position relative to the power source. So you see, it's paint by numbers, and I hope you'll do it on every shot that you hit from now on. Okay, now the next step in making this response truly an automatic, natural action. We've already gone through with this gentleman, but I want to show you what we did. We placed the hands on the club in precisely the manner that we've discussed, and the first step that we do is simply place our feet approximately shoulder width. Approximately. If we're hitting a wood club, we're going to be probably about shoulder width between our feet. And if we're hitting a short iron, about shoulder width on the outside of our feet, but approximately shoulder width. Now the first step next is to simply lower the club. Not to bend over, not to sit down at this point, but to simply add nothing to it, lower the club. Then having lowered the club here, we simply continue to lower by sitting down. And all we do is sit down until we're as far as we want to be. Now, we do not sit down to the point that the club touches the ground. Okay. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to show you what the motor of a golf swing looks like. A golf swing has a motor, and you're going to experience it, or some of you are going to experience it tonight up here, and all of you are going to see it right now. In showing you what the motor of the golf swing looks like, I'm going to show you an exercise that if you'll just do it, if you just won't hit a golf ball for the next week, and if you'll simply do this exercise instead, a week from now you'll be a much better player. What I'm going to do is put my left hand on the club in precisely the manner that we described. I'm going to leave my right hand off, and I'm going to lower the club and just simply lower the club and then lower my knees. Now I'm going to begin to swing the club very slowly. And the only step that I'm going to make, in addition to the one we've described before I start, is I'm going to turn my chin slightly to the right. And I'm going to begin to swing this club slowly, and then faster and faster and faster. First thing I want you to observe or hear is the sound of a golf swing as I increase the speed. And the second thing is I want you to tell me where the power source is. What made me able to swing this club faster as I went? Where did the power come from? Okay, I'm going to begin with a nice little tempo. When I wanted to hit it harder, where did I get it from, folks? Pretty obvious. The feet and the legs. And that's the motor of the golf swing. To activate that motor, we have a little starter. And that starter is a simple move with the right foot and the right knee. But to have it active, we've got to sit down, keep the club off the ground, the weight on the heels. Is it logical that we would start here, go up here with our legs straight, and try to do this when it's just so simple to get in this position? So I'm going to give you this little exercise to think about doing at home, which is to simply take the club and to simply activate your feet and legs. Now, I didn't say do this. I didn't say make the club bring your body. And I didn't even say stay neutral. Just simply drop the club, carry it, and make this motion with your feet and legs. Then practice left hand, put the club down, shin slightly to the right, and then swing. More power, more legs. Now, as we watch this action, one of the things that should be pretty obvious to you is that it's simply a mechanical fact that the more centrifugal force we create, the truer the action. And what does that mean? That when somebody told you, hit it easier to hit it straighter, they were telling you precisely the opposite of what you need to do. The further you want to hit it, the more you turn on that motor, and the truer the action becomes. Now I'm going to get a little technical here and show you something else. The more you turn on this motor, you turn your swing into an elliptical event. You see, you lower down, you move the knees, the swing becomes elliptical. Now what happens when the swing becomes elliptical? No longer are we confined to one point where the swing is true, but we have a window, 6 or 8 or 10 inches long, depending on the amount of leg work we do, where we can hit that ball relatively true because we're simply bringing the club through. Now, I told you it was automatic. It's not automatic if you put your hands on wrong, because if you're going from here and then trying to get up here, you have to make a move. See? So it all starts with the proper hands, the proper position, and it's truly automatic. A natural response to the top of the swing. You just simply turn on the motor and you stop thinking about your golf swing and you go out and do that golf swing. And the harder you hit it, as long as you do it with the motor, the truer the action is. The straighter and more affirmatively, positively the ball flies. That's all there is to it. Now at this point, I want to help you find, through this little test, your master eye, because that's relevant to this head position. So what we're going to do now is help you find your master eye. Simply hold your fingers out in front of you and make a little space, a little window, right in between your fingers. And let's look right up at this golf club. Look at the golf club, extend your hands with both eyes open, find the head of the club, both eyes open, looking through that space. Now don't move your head. Don't move your hands. Close your right eye. Did that thing just jump out of the way? For most of you it did. Open your eyes again, find it again, close your left eye, leave your right eye open, you probably still see it. About 80% of you, a typical audience, are right-eyed. Now how many of you are left-eyed, have a master left eye? See, it runs about 20%. You're very fortunate. You see, what you've been told, folks, is keep your head down. That's precisely the wrong thing to do. What happens when I put my head down? This is down, isn't it? I put my head down, and I make a swing, and the act of putting it down makes it come up. You see, in golf, we keep our head up, not down, but we do turn our chin slightly to the right. Now, for those of you over here who have the good fortune to have the master eye as the left eye, you're automatically probably already doing that. In other words, you're trying to and succeeding in seeing it out of your left eye, and you're doing like this. For the rest of us folks who are right-eyed, I want you to simply turn your chin, and you'll know you've done it when you see a little shadow of your nose when you're looking down at the ball. This opens up the whole swing, allows the motor to get on, gets the whole position into the proper gearing. So, the steps that we've covered here, we place the left hand on by extending the club in front of us. Place the left hand down on the club. We have all the pressure in these 3 fingers, and this thumb is short, and this finger is long. Not here, right here. Now, you know, as you look down at that grip, folks, you're going to say, oh, that's the old 2-finger grip, or the 2-knuckle grip. Nothing new about that. It is true that you can see 2 knuckles here. But you could see 2 knuckles if you held it like that. You could see 2 knuckles if you did a lot of things. This is a precise way of gripping the club, like squeezing this little lemon. You see 2 knuckles, but most important, you have a space between these 2 ligaments. It's over the hand. We've retained a 45-degree angle, and we have no pressure on this thumb or finger. We put the right hand on. We simply lower the club, and then we lower our knees. We make sure that our left foot is turned out slightly to the right, about 45-degree angles. We turn the chin to the right, and all we have to do is start the motor, and the swing happens automatically. The gratification, folks, is not out there where the ball lands. If it was out there where the ball was, that means you could take the ball and deliver it out there and drop it, and you could look at it and say it's in great shape. Folks, that's not it. Golf, when you're really enjoying it, is instant gratification. You know it, you feel it, it's just there. And that's what I want to do, is bring this experience of golf from out there into in here. 2 questions that came up at the break, and 2 questions I always hear are excellent questions, and I want to answer them. First of all, are we freezing our wrists? No, there is a wrist cock in golf swing. Now, you were invited here through a piece of advertising copy that told you that the terms pronation, supination, wrist cock, and all of these things were effects rather than causes. What we're dealing with here is the thing that caused them, but I do want to show you where the wrist cock is in golf. You may be surprised to find out that it occurs on the downswing rather than the backswing. You see, if we place our hands here, simply lower the club, and simply take it back here, we haven't changed the position of those hands. But what happens is when we turn on the motor and come here, you see centrifugal force brings the club down. Right here is the wrist cock. This is when we build up that additional energy. Now, when the motor turns us into the ball, you see, and the release is there, we do get the benefit of that. But it's nothing you have to think about. And that's the reason that I want you to start this motor with the feet rather than start the motor here. Because it's just here, start the motor, and there you go. What I want you to do, and I'm going to repeat the exercise we did earlier, now perhaps with your having a better understanding of the whys and the wherefore of the steps, is to simply take that club, push it out in front of you, put your left hand, lower the club, not your body. Simply lower the club, then lower your knees. Turn the left foot out, turn the chin to the right, and start the motor right here. The more you do this, the more you get the feel. Do you hear the sound of a golf swing? When you can do this 30, 35, 40 times, and you're just as strong the last time as you were the first time, folks, you're ready to go out and hit some golf balls. Now, you notice I never lose control of the club. The reason I don't lose control of the club is because I placed my hand on there in a precise way, and I built up my strength with the exercise. Okay, we'll start off with a review of Automatic Golf Part 1. If you recall, we always grip the club with club up in the air, club held in the right hand, extended in front of you at about a 45-degree angle. The left hand in, over, and down. In, over, and down. The pressure in the left hand in the last 3 fingers. Now, with your right forefinger, find that space between the 2 ligaments at the top of the left hand. Now put your thumb in there, and that space, if you gripped it correctly, will be directly over the club shaft. You'll feel a little tug, a little pull here. Not here, right there. We maintain the 45-degree angle. Then we place the right hand on by placing the club in the second pad of the middle 2 fingers, not up here in the crease, right down here in the pad, and lightly grip the club in those 2 fingers. Simply close the right hand over, the right thumb on the left side of the shaft, and from this position, all we have to do is simply lower the club, not bend from the waist, but simply lower the club and then sit down. Okay. Now, the first move, the trigger or the starter move of the automatic golf system is to simply turn the chin to the right and move the club slightly to the left with the right foot and knee. Okay, now that's a review of the automatic golf system. That's all the preparation you need to place the proper hitting muscles in command of the shot. But if you're watching this film without having watched the first film, you just simply can't have it that fast. So go back to that first film and review the basics. Now you'll recall that after we achieved the original starting position, or the proper original starting position, the next step in the automatic golf system was to do the golf motor exercise. The golf motor exercise, again, we grip the club, this time in our left hand only. We simply lower the club, then we sit down into the shot, turn the chin to the right, and we start swinging the club, held in the left hand only. Keep the chin back, apply the motion with the feet and legs, more power, more feet and legs. More power, more feet and legs. Okay, we're going to move on now and apply the automatic golf system today into the hitting of some variety of shots. But at this point, I have to tell you that some of you folks out there are watching this film, either without having watched the first film or not having prepared yourself with the exercise. Well, folks, the good news and the bad news is, the good news is that hitting a golf ball is no more complicated than applying that little exercise I just did to a golf ball with the right hand riding on the club, adding nothing to the shot. The bad news is that no matter how much you know about it, you can't do it until you have learned to do that exercise and mastered the golf motor move. And I want to illustrate the importance of that with a little piece of equipment I've made up today. What I've done here is simulated one of the famous David and Goliath slingshots. You've read about it or heard about it. It's a little pouch with a couple pieces of string. And what I've done is scotch tape in a golf ball here. And now we all know, or we pretty much know, that the force in a golf swing is centrifugal force. That's how David beat that big old Goliath, using centrifugal force. But you know, even though we know that centrifugal force is the force of a golf swing, we all have a bit of misconception, or most of us do, about the central point. You see, if the central point, or the axis, the centrifugal force of a golf swing, was at our hands, we'd swing a club just about like this. But that's not the way we do it. You see, the axis point is the left shoulder. So the importance of the motor exercise that I've just showed you, and we discussed so much on film 1, is first of all to establish the axis right up here with your left shoulder. You see, when we do the exercise, everything is moving from the left shoulder, not from the wrist, from the left shoulder. Now, let's look back at this slingshot again. And if we start whirling this thing real fast, we notice that the arc is perfectly true. We don't have to think about that arc being true. We don't have to think about that golf ball, which would be equivalent to the head of the club staying on path. All we've got to do is swing it, make it whirl. It's the same thing in a golf swing. You don't have to think about all these things. But what happens is, if I started thinking about where this thing is and tried to place it in different positions,
and had it break in the middle, I'd lose all of the dynamics, all the trueness out of the action. Well, that's the same thing that happens, folks, when you're dealing with a golf club. That's the same thing that happens when this hinge comes into play. All of the true whirling action of the golf swing from this hinge, caused by this motor, breaks down and disappears if we do this. So, folks, the second purpose of the exercise, first, to establish the proper hinge point, and secondly, over a period of time, to build up sufficient strength in this left hand so it can serve its function of maintaining the club in a proper position throughout the swing. Now, certainly we recognize that the club responds to the move, and that's where we have the automatic wrist cock. But as soon as we start doing this stuff, folks, it breaks down the action. So there's no replacing the exercise. Now, before we hit some balls, I'm again going to review the full automatic golf system right through the workout with the motor exercise. Extend the club out in front of us, the right hand, club at a 45-degree angle. In, over, and down with the left hand. The club gripped about 70% of our total gripping pressure, 60 to 70%, in the last three fingers of the left hand. We find the space between the two ligaments. It's directly over the shaft. We feel the pull here. We don't allow the club to release. We come in, place the right hand on in the two fingers, two middle fingers, two middle pads, with only very light pressure, and the right thumb on the left side of the shaft. We simply then lower the club, and then we lower our knees, turn our chin to the right, and we start the motor move with the right foot and right knee. Now, the transition from the golf motor exercise to the swing is to simply place the right hand on in such a way that it does not impinge on or in any way change the exercise. You see, hitting a golf ball is nothing more than doing the exercise with the ball in the way. Now, the transition stage, after you've practiced the exercise for a week, 2 weeks, whatever period of time it takes you, until you can hold that club solidly and firmly in the left hand throughout the action, so you can make 15 or 20 real good aggressive moves and feel and sense the motor in the hinge point. The first transition is to take either your 6, 7, or 8 iron. Today I'm going to use an 8 iron. And to tee up every shot. Let's keep it easy. So we're going to hit a number of shots here with the ball teed up. We're going to gradually tee the ball down lower and then wean ourselves away from the tee. Now, what I'm going to ask the cameraman to do here is pick a variety of shots, both in terms of angle and portions of my body, so that you can see that the principle we've discussed is always there in every shot. It's in every shot that I let you see after I edit this film. That kind of reminds me of the conversation between Ted Williams and Sam Snead, and they were arguing which was the most difficult sport, either golf or baseball. And Ted Williams said, "But Sam, baseball's much tougher. That ball is moving." Yeah, but Sam Snead says, "In golf, we got to go play those foul balls." Well, the foul ones you won't see today. What you will see is that I'm simply doing the golf motor exercise with the ball interrupting the move. Now we're going to apply the same procedure to the driver. We're going to tee the ball real high, and if there's any sort of little tip that I want to give you golfers today, and that is to tee the ball very high with the driver.
When you tee the ball low, you get an inordinate amount of backspin when you hit the driver. It gets out to the point of the ball gets out to the point of terminal velocity and it falls flat. The really long drivers hit the ball from high to high, so tee the ball real high. Take about $1 million like that.
I love it.
Now we're going to show you some golf shots with the driver from the rear. And the significance of this point of view is that you can see the foot and leg action very, very clearly. After I hit the last one, which was quite excellent, Judy said, "Well, Bob, I could see it. You did it with your feet and legs." Folks, I want to introduce you to my golf club. This golf club has no moving parts. And every time I try to swing this golf club, it doesn't work. You see, this golf club wants to do the swinging. This golf club wants to swing in response to something I do, and that something is with my feet and legs. And as soon as you try to do something with this club, mine, yours, or anybody else's, it goes wrong. It goes wrong in direct proportion to the amount you try to do. All you're really doing is supporting this club, supporting it through the dynamics of this movement, and the club does the swinging. Oh, that's super. That's the best stroke one can put on a golf ball right there. Well, take about 1 million of them like that. We'll finish up our workout today like we suggest you finish up yours with the golf motor exercise. Don't do it before you work out with the balls every day. It'll make you a little tired, but afterwards, definitely do so. Here we are on the holeless putting green, and a couple of ducks walking across the green, but we're not going to duck hook it. And it's just as well that there's no holes on the putting green, because the objective in putting is to make the ball roll well. If you can make the ball roll end over end with proper English, it's going to find the hole for you. And in watching putters, good, bad, and indifferent over the years, I found out that the secret in putting is exactly the same as the secret in hitting the full shots. It's in the left hand. If the left hand is properly positioned and holds that proper position throughout the stroke, the ball will roll well. You see, what happens when we strike a putt and it does not roll well, usually because of tension. The left hand moves forward, and the putter head attacks the ball and produces a backspin or a side spin. So the whole secret in putting and getting the good roll on the ball is, after placing the right hand, all of the fingers on the club, to place the left hand on the club and be certain to maintain this position, this arch, throughout the whole stroke. If we maintain this arch, we're going to maintain the loft on the putter, and the ball will roll well. Now, some of the best putters that I've ever seen will actually increase the loft through the putting stroke. It's not really important whether you simply maintain the loft by keeping the left wrist in the proper position, or, as Billy Casper does, increase the loft. What's very important is that you do not reduce the loft. Left hand, maintain this position throughout the whole stroke. Folks, that's your whole putting lesson for today. This is one of my favorite shots. I call it the pancake shot. And I want to give credit where credit's due. This and many of the other shorter shots were taught to me by John Guston, a fine professional at the Birmingham Country Club, Birmingham, Alabama. The reason we call it the pancake shot is it goes up nice and high and drops nice and soft. And the purpose of this shot is to play over an obstacle, perhaps over a sand trap, onto the green. Now, this is one shot that violates the rule of no wrists, and here we are going to release the wrist. Now, this shot is actually played very much like a sand shot out of a deep pot bunker. First thing that we do is make a grip adjustment. We place the club out in front of us, but we turn the blade open. About 10, 15 degrees open, just as we would in a sand shot. And then with the blade open, we come in over and down on the club. Place the right hand on in the standard manner, and the meaning of that is that when we lower the club, it looks very much like it would look if we're playing a proper sand shot. The club is open. Now, the action of this shot is to pass the club under the ball. And the way we do that is we allow the hands to relax and we release the hand in much the same way we'd play out of a pot bunker. Thank you for attending Automatic Golf Volume 2, and ask at your favorite store for Automatic Golf, the Operator's Manual in book form. And soon to be introduced, look for the automatic golf balls. They're just as automatic as your willingness to apply the motor move to your golf game.